jalapenos, yuca, which is a root vegetable. We're going to do a little bit with that, sweet potato, just all kinds of stuff. But it's really one of the big things is hot peppers, fresh herbs. So when we talk about jerk today, there's actually a lot of the jerk seasoning people are used to is the dry rub, the stuff you buy in the spice jar in the grocery store aisle. True jerk seasoning is a wet rub. And Chef Steve's going to do that today. He's going to show that to you. But before we do that, I'm actually going to do a recipe of conch fritters. So conch fritters is like a large sea snail. You've ever seen the large seashells that you might find on the beach in the islands? That's where it comes from. Conch meat is hard to find. I looked and I looked and I looked. So what I did is I substituted scallops because it is a similar type mollusk type mussel. So I went and got the bay scallops. So it'll have a very similar taste. And if you don't like conch and you want to use this recipe, you can use it with crab meat, shrimp, scallops, but the scallops aren't cooked. They're actually raw. So we're going to start off with 4 eggs, cup of milk. So I'm going to get my wet ingredients together first. I'm just going to beat that so it's mixed. But these fritters have a lot of vegetable components in them also. They make a great appetizer. All right, those are our wet ingredients. Our dry ingredients are sugar, a little bit of sugar, salt and pepper, baking powder, just a touch of cayenne, going to mix that up so it blends real well. A lot of times when you add baking powder to eggs, it kind of activates. So you want to give it just a minute and we'll start to foam up before we mix it in our flour. What I have here is some diced jalapeno peppers. I took the seeds out because the seeds are where the majority of the heat is. Diced celery, diced red bell pepper, and diced white onion. And then this is our raw protein. As you can see how this is foaming up. I'm just gonna move that off to the side. Starting to foam up a little bit. That's how I know that it's mixed well. It only takes a minute. It starts the activation. All right. Going to add my flour a little bit at a time. Now fritters should be like a sort of a thick batter. So when you drop them in, they kind of fry up in a ball or a shape. So if you don't think it's thick enough, you can add more flour. I like to do this before I add all my other ingredients so that I make sure that my batter is smooth.
Now, Chef Tom, a question for you. Do you use a cup of flour or do you just wait till the consistency is thick enough?
I'm going to use the whole cup of flour.
But you just stir it in increments.
Yep. It's just easier. It blends a little bit better. It starts to look like pancake batter, but it needs to be a little thicker than that because it's got to be able to hold all the ingredients together and fry up. All righty. Now you can see that now. It's starting to come together. And this is something too that you can make a couple hours ahead of time and it doesn't hurt it. So now I'm going to add my, what I like to call the garnish, the peppers, the veggies. Oh, the spatula, the rubber spatula. And then my protein. And I'm going to fold this. Alrighty. So what I'm gonna do is go back to the fryer and I'm gonna start dropping some of these. And I'm gonna just test it first, just to make sure the thickness is right. Sometimes when you add, especially a raw protein, if there's a little bit of liquid in there, it thins down your batter. So I'm just gonna test it with a small one, make sure it's set up. If I have to add a little bit more flour, I'll do so. So while I'm doing that, Chef Steve is gonna start with Cuban black bean soup.
All right. So we're gonna start by making Cuban black bean soup. So this morning, what I did was last night, overnight, Chef Tom soaked some black beans overnight because you need to hydrate them. And then what I did this morning is I cooked these beans with some chicken stock, a little bit of cumin, some garlic, and you bring it up to a boil. And that process took about an hour and a half to get my beans to the desired doneness that you need. You don't want them to be too soft because they'll become too mushy in your soup.
Chef Steve, quick question. So you soaked the beans overnight. How long were they soaking for?
They were soaking for 24 hours.
Okay, and then after the soak, you then put it on this morning to
Yep.
boil?
So what I did this morning is I drained the liquid that they were soaking in, and
Which
then
is-
you rinse all that off.
Mhm.
And then what I did is then I put them in the a stock pot with chicken stock.
And they were soaking in just water overnight?
Just water. Yep. All right. So in my other stock pot, since I did that this morning, that cuts down on a little bit of time. Over here, I'm gonna start with a little bit of bacon. Just gonna toss a little bit of oil in. And drop your bacon in. What you want to do is get your bacon nice and crisp. Get that going. So a lot of your flavor comes from the mixture that you started with cooking your beans ahead of time, because you save all that chicken stock, the cumin, because that's the base of your soup. So I'll get this going and bring this back up to a simmer. And like I said, I cooked these beans for about an hour and a half this morning. Just by the time they get to the desired doneness that you're looking for. So when you cook your bacon, you just want to stir it around. What's going to happen is it's going to render all the fat that's on it, and you're going to want to save that rendered fat, because then that's whenever you start cooking your vegetables in and get a lot of nice flavor going. Get that bacon cooking. Now the bacon we're using today is just some smoked bacon, hickory smoked bacon. You could use other bacon. It's just, this has a nice flavor to it to throw into a soup. All right. While that cooks up, this morning I cut up some diced green bell pepper and some onions. I just cut them at a quarter inch dice, because what's gonna happen then, once this soup's completely done, we're gonna use an immersion blender, and I'm gonna show you what that is momentarily. Let this get going. And as this cooks down, you'll get a nice layer of bacon grease on the inside. Now you can use bacon grease for all kinds of things. It's one of the better greases to cook with. Because what happens as you cook it, your bacon starts to seize and it gets all that fat that releases, and it's really nice for crisping up onions, peppers, pretty much any vegetable you want, you could cook with it. So as you can see, it's starting to get down, release some fat. You're gonna want to cook it just a little bit longer so it kind of crisps up. Now, once it's done crisping up, we're gonna want to take it out, and that's what we're gonna cook our vegetables in. Start to get this going.
Chef Steve, question. Now, I'm sure it's
Yes.
a matter of your preference for bacon, but how much bacon did you use for this pot?
I used a pound of bacon. Just a pound of bacon. I cut it into I just cut it into 1/4-inch pieces, and then cut it into 1/4-inch pieces so that they're all nice and even, so they cook the same at the same time. If you have pieces that are too big, they're not going to cook as even as like ones that are smaller. All right, almost there. About taking the bacon out. How's our corn fritters coming, Chef?
The conch fritters are just about ready. So this is the finished product. So how they come out, they're very nice. I didn't need to add any more flour to the batter, even though it looked a little thin. You want them light. So if you add too much flour, they become a little dense, too heavy. The dipping sauce on the side is actually made from ketchup, mayonnaise, fresh squeezed lime juice, and hot sauce. So great recipe.
All right, as my bacon's browning, I'm starting to bring my beans and my chicken stock mixture up to temp. So what we're gonna.
Chef Steve, while you're doing that real quick, Chef Tom, we have a question for you. How long would you fry the fritters for?
You hear that question, Chef?
I didn't.
How long did you fry the fritters for?
So they take about 4 to 5 minutes. When you drop them in, I use the number 30 ice cream scoop, and you drop them in all at one time. You don't try to spread them out. You try to have them go in as a ball, and then they get that kind of round shape. It's a little irregular, but they take a good 4 to 5 minutes. And I did them in groups, one side of the fryer, then the other side. But yes, nice and light. They smell delicious.
We have another question in the chat. How long can you store bacon fat? Does it need to be refrigerated?
You can refrigerate bacon fat, because all it'll do, it'll just solidify on you so that you could use it whenever. Bacon, with it being cured, you could store it for a long period of time.
It's actually easier to use. It's actually easier to use if it's refrigerated, because then you can scoop out kind of what you want. And fats will go rancid on you.
All right. Now that we have our bacon kind of rendered a little bit, I'm going to take the bacon out of the pan, but you're going to keep all those drippings in there. And we're going to set this aside and we're going to use it momentarily as well. It's okay if you don't quite get it all out. And now we're going to use that to brown our vegetables. It adds a very nice savory component to it because then the bacon and all your grease is your salt. So you don't have to add as much chicken stock to your product. Also going to throw our garlic in as well. All right. All right, now that we have our mixture over here up to a boil, what we're gonna do is now that all of our vegetables are cooked and our bacon's cooked, we're gonna add them to our bean mixture. So I'm gonna throw our bacon in a while. Stir that up.
There you go.
And I'm gonna add our vegetables to it next. The vegetables didn't take that long to cook because the grease was nice and hot. And we're just gonna throw that right on in. Right. Let this cook a little bit. And then the next thing I'm going to show you why this is working is I'm going to show you our pork. So this morning, I cleaned 2 pork tenderloins for a sandwich that we have going on today. Some of you might have heard it before, but it's known as a Cuban. All right. All right, so here I have a pork tenderloin that this morning I cleaned up all the silver skin on. You get these in the grocery store. Stir our soup. All right, so I have a pork tenderloin here. Like I said, I cleaned this morning. We're gonna add in some orange juice, garlic.
Chef Steve, quick question for you.
Yes.
You cleaned the pork this morning. What did the cleaning process consist of? What did you use to clean the pork?
So what I did is I actually used a boning knife. And what I did is all you do is you take your loin, you lay it on a red cutting board. And then I took the tip of the boning knife and got right under the silver skin. Silver skin is a very tough piece of skin that's on from a lot of the muscle that you just get your knife right underneath it and then clean it on up by just taking your knife just under it just so slightly.
Do you use anything for the pork like lemon juice, vinegar? Do you use anything to actually clean the meat?
Nope. Nope. It was just mainly just taking off any of the excess silver skin that was on top of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I added our orange juice and our garlic. We have some oregano here, diced onion, salt, cumin, and pepper, some oil, and some lime juice. Squeeze that right on top of it. All right, and then what you're gonna do, what I did earlier this morning was I marinated the one that we have for presentation in a Ziploc baggie. It just keeps all the flavors really close together. And I did that for about 2 hours this morning. So what we're gonna do now is, now that I made the marinade, we're gonna put this on a sheet tray and we're gonna pop it right in the oven.
The reason we use a glazing rack to roast the tenderloin doesn't have a lot of fat. We don't want it to have direct heat to the bottom of the tray. So we put a rack on top of the tray so that you can see, so it keeps it off and it doesn't burn, that you get 100% yield. So, and the marinade, you could marinate it for up to 8 hours if you, we didn't have 8 hours this morning, but.
All right. So as you can see in our soup, it's coming together really nice with all the bacon, the onions, all that nice flavors all combined nice together with the cumin. Yep, of course. Okay. So I talked about a piece of equipment a little bit ago called an immersion blender. So what we're going to do is we're going to immersion blend this. So what it does is it mixes the soup together. You could use a blender at home. You don't need to use an immersion blender if you don't have one. It'll just all combine the soup all together instead of having big pieces of beans and peppers and onions all in there.
There you go.
Chef Steve, we have a question for you.
Yes.
What temperature should the oven be on for the pork?
So we did it for we cooked it at 350 for about, I would say about 20-25 minutes. And you're going to look for an internal temperature of that at 145.
Thank you.
All right, and now we're going to use our immersion blender here. It's going to make a little bit of noise. All right. Thank you, Chef.
Mhm.
So you can see the difference, how it blended it all together. Now it still has a little bit of texture to it. If you wanted it a lot smoother, after this step, you could put it in the blender or you could just do it straight in the blender like I mentioned before. Can I have a ladle, please? All right.
So this,
Yep. All right. I'm just going to ladle some of this right in our crock here. And we're just going to garnish it with a little bit of cilantro and sour cream right on top. All right. We're going to set this aside. slide this out of the way.
Well, that looks good. You know what you need to go with that?
Yes, a
A-
sandwich.
A good sandwich. Yeah, there's nothing like a good soup and sandwich meal. So today we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do actually a Cuban sandwich. And there are some tricks. It's not a difficult sandwich to make. But one of the things is getting the right bread. One of the few places you can find panini bread is Giant. And panini bread's a little wider, a little longer. Should make sure it fits in the pan before you put it together. Simple ingredients.
Quick question, you all did a lot of prep prior to, for the sake of time, what is the start to finish for the soup process?
Well,
Minus the 24 hours that the beans have. to-
right, the beans, because they're dry beans, they had to soak overnight. It actually speeds up the cooking process, believe it or not. And then the beans probably cook for about an hour and a half. I'm gonna say 2 hours, actually cooking time. So you crisp the bacon, you saute your veggies off, you add your beans and your liquid and you puree it. And it came out very nice. And it's there's no thickener in there other than the bean puree. So, but yeah, probably about 2 hours. I just don't have a knife to cut the sandwich.
What's that?
I don't have a knife to cut the sandwich. So first thing, good bread. So this is panini bread. And there's different kinds out there. And I say panini because typically paninis are done on what's called a panini press. I'm not going to do that today. I actually want to grill it like a grilled cheese. I think it's a better flavor. Panini press gives it grill marks and a little bit of char. But one of the things I'm not crazy about it is it kind of smashes all your ingredients. So you need good Swiss cheese. And then we have some boiled ham. And this is one of the tricks too. This is actually a very high quality dill pickle, and then I cut it in the lengthwise. I don't want pickled chips in here. I want a nice crispy kosher dill. And then I'm gonna take our citrus pork. And I'm just gonna cut it at a little bit of an angle because I don't want thick slices. I kind of want thinner slices. So I could lay it in there. And this is cooked just right. It's not overdone. It's not underdone. It still has a little bit of juice when you cut it. That's exactly the way you want. Pork tenderloins don't have a lot of fat. So you might think one slice of ham doesn't seem like enough. Well, you're also putting all that pork in there too. So we're just going to brush the edge with some melted butter. Melted butter always gives you a better flavor.
Hey, Chef Tom, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What did you use to spread on the bread? Was that mustard?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that is whole grain mustard. Kind of
Right.
like a brown mustard, like Gulden's. Not the name drop, but yes. You have to have some type of mustard on.
Can it be mayo instead, or I mean, it's a,
If
just a,
that's what you like, yeah. It could be a Dijonnaise,
okay.
which is like a combination of mayonnaise and mustard. Yes, if it's what you like. Traditionally, it's more of a whole grain mustard.
Good questions, everyone. Keep them coming.
All right, so we're just gonna griddle that once our pan gets a little hotter. And you do it enough, you remember your ham, your pork, they're already kind of cooked. So we want to do it enough that it gets golden brown on the outside and the cheese is melted on the inside. Now, if you had a panini press at your house, I don't ever, everybody remembers the George Foreman type grills that used to be out years ago. And he had a small, yeah, I still have one too. And they had a smaller sandwich type version. That makes a great vehicle to grill something like this. to give it some grill marks and crisp it on both sides. All righty. As you can see, it's not taking long. So once our pan gets hot, these induction burners get hot pretty quick. So I'm just going to drop that back just a little bit. But yeah, George Foreman works beautifully. Smelling good. But the key to this sandwich is the pork. Trust me. You want to have some really good pork that's in there, good pickles, good mustard, or mayonnaise if that's what you like.
Question, do you guys mind giving us the pork brand?
The pork brand,
Mhm.
actually, I bought a generic brand of pork tenderloin at Giant yesterday. It was a better deal. There were 2 in a pack. Pork tenderloin's pork tenderloin. It's going to be tender no matter what. The thing is, nowadays a lot of the grocery stores have they're already pre-marinated. I didn't want anything like that. I wanted an unmarinated pork tenderloin. So they had 2-pack. That was a better price. But there we go. Okay. So this is a nice, healthy sandwich. Looks good, looks good. Got it. Got the shot. Got the money shot. Okay, nice and crispy. Not a lot of expensive ingredients. It's a good way to use. If you have a little bit of ham and Swiss cheese in your refrigerator, it's a great way to use it. So, all right. So, jerk chicken. We couldn't do a show on this type of cuisine without doing jerk chicken. So we actually have a couple different components of this dish. And Chef Steve's going to talk to you about the marinade and how he put it together. And like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of people think jerk is the dry rub. It can be, but traditionally, if you're going to go to the island and get the real thing, this is what it should be like.
All right. Thank you, Chef. All right. So what we did this morning is we actually got boneless, skinless thighs. They tend to have a lot more flavor to them whenever they cook up. With the dark meat, it's a lot better. So I have some that are already marinated here, just to kind of show you what they look like. We've had these marinated for about, I would say about 2 hours, close to it. And you just put all your mix right over top of it. And now I'm about to talk about the marinade while Chef Tom starts grilling these up. So as you can see, the marinade isn't a dry rub. It's a wet rub. So what it consists of are like brown sugar, garlic, green onions, regular white onions, the sweet onions, have some jalapenos in there. Brown, I think I said brown sugar, soy sauce, vinegar, and they all work together very, very nicely for a jerk chicken marinade. So we did, like I said, we did that. You could make this marinade the day before, and then it's ready for the next day, or you can make it in a few hours and let it sit, and then it could be ready to go. So while he grills that up, I'll slide this down off to the side. And I'm going to show you another component that we did as well. So we pre-did these because these take a little bit of time. We did a roasted vegetable medley. So what we did was we made a Cuban dry rub, which it consists of a lot of the same things: the brown sugar, the oregano, the cumin, salt, pepper. They all add a nice component to a dry rub that's great for vegetables. And what we did was we made the dry rub and then tossed them with butter. We used yuca, yams, and yellow sweet potatoes. And we did these Chef, how long did they take? The vegetables.
Well, if you dice them, if they're all the same size, 1/2 inch dice, which these are, they take about 30 to 35 minutes.
Okay.
You
So
want them brown and crispy.
we did them ahead of time because they take a little bit of time to cook. So we just wanted to make sure that that was all ready before we could plate up our next dish. We'll come back to the vegetables momentarily. Set them off to the side. Chef, you want to work on the nachos? I can take care over
Yep.
from here.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, while Chef Steve is finishing up the jerk chicken, today we actually have it's a sort of a conglomeration treat of different flavors, but it sounded exciting when I saw it. We kind of made our own version of it, but it's island nachos. So they're going to have all kinds of different components of what a nacho would be, but different ingredients. So if you remember, if you were in our Cinco de Mayo class, one of the big things that I talked about was frying your own chips, because it makes a huge difference than going to the grocery store and buying stuff out of the bag. Stuff out of the bag's okay when you don't have time, but if you can fry your own, and these are flour tortillas. So I just want to show you some here. I'm going to kind of arrange them on this tray so that we can bake them. Put our topping on. But the idea is to get them just about this color. You want to make sure if you do have a fryer at home, and you can do these oven fried too. I need to tell you that. If you don't want to deep fry them, you can cut them into triangles, lay them out on a sheet tray that's sprayed with like food release, and then spray the top of them with food release. And it's a little bit of a healthier version. You just have to manage the color. They may not get quite as crisp, but they'll get pretty close. But you can do them that way. But I worked in a hotel where we had Mexican and Italian cuisine in the same kitchen, coming out of the same kitchen, which was interesting. Trust me. But one of the things, whenever we fried our chips, we always made sure we had fresh oil in the fryer, and we fried our chips then. And they can hold in an airtight container for like a week. They'll stay nice and crispy. And then we would fry our other stuff because they will pick up a flavor of fish, onion rings, whatever. Okay. So we kind of want to lay these out. And now our components for this, we have two proteins. We have some veggies. We have all kinds of garnishes. First, we need some pineapple. You got to have a little pineapple if you're going to have like an island nacho. So this is actually canned pineapple. You could use fresh. This is what I had on hand today. I'm going to make sure it's drained. You don't want to get your chips soggy. All right. This is bacon bits. This is fresh bacon that I fry or baked in the oven. I actually always do bacon in the oven. It's a better product. And then I chopped it into smaller pieces. So far we have bacon bits, pineapple, yum, looking good. This is actually cooked shrimp that I tossed in a tiny bit of oil and the dry jerk seasoning. Okay, so it's already cooked. Basically, all we want to do is kind of get it hot. If you're going to do island, you got to have some type of seafood. All righty.
Chef Tom, quick question. Is there any seasoning like Old Bay or anything on those shrimp?
Jerk seasoning, just the dry jerk rub.
So for the shrimp, you did a dry.
Just the traditional Caribbean our Caribbean jerk seasoning that you find in the grocery store. But yes. Now we have some fresh jalapenos, just a little bit. You got to have a little bit of heat. Okay. And then our garnishes are going to be red bell pepper, yellow bell pepper, green onions, and cilantro. But before I do that, we have here a Caribbean barbecue sauce. And this is made with traditional like bottled barbecue sauce. We use Sweet Baby Ray's, soy sauce, Caribbean jerk seasoning, pineapple juice. Am I missing anything else, Chef Steve?
Cumin.
Cumin, a little bit of thickener,
Mhm.
a little bit of cornstarch
think
just
that's
to bring
about
it
it.
together. And I'm just gonna kind of zigzag over top of my proteins. Save a little bit for the end. And then I have here a blend of cheddar jack and mozzarella. This is looking good, I gotta tell you. And I don't want to go crazy cheese. I like to see the products underneath it. I know everybody likes a lot of cheese, and I do too. But I like to see what's on there. All right, and we're going to toast that off in the oven. And when the cheese melts, when it comes out, we're going to garnish it. And it's going to just take about 3 minutes. Okay, while our nachos are melting, Chef Steve has the roasted Cuban vegetables. The jerk chicken is working. One of the other components of this dish is a pineapple rum chutney. You can't have anything jerk and not have some type of rum somewhere, or sorry, Jamaican, one of the biggest makers of rum in the world. So this is actually one of the reasons I had canned pineapple today for my nachos, because we made a chutney this morning. It's raisins, pineapple, white vinegar, brown sugar, dark Myers rum, which is the same thing we have back here, jalapenos, and red peppers. And then we cook it down and we refrigerate it until it kind of gets syrupy. But it goes great with your chicken. How are we looking?
Still have about at least 10 minutes. at
Okay.
least. Yep.
Well, we can probably pull a skinny one for
Yep.
a display.
Yep.
So we're almost there. One of the things that Chef Steve is checking is the internal temperature of the chicken. You want to make sure it reaches 165 degrees. You don't want to take a chance on getting anybody sick. So how's the nachos? They should just be about ready. Yeah.
Another, yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Is the cheese melted? Let's
Another
go.
minute.
Another minute. Don't push your food, whatever you
Another
do.
minute.
So when it's ready, it's ready. Just talk to your guests and tell another story. So that'll or a dad joke. You know, yesterday was Father's Day, so I haven't done any dad jokes today and the day after Father's Day because I used them all up yesterday. So, all right. So as soon as our cheese is melted, we'll finish our nachos. Are there any questions on any of the products about where to get them? I'm sure everybody wishes they could. We're trying to send smell-o-vision through Zoom. We just haven't figured out how to do it yet so that everybody can smell what we smell here.
Now
But
that we just want to taste it. So we appreciate the thought, but most of us are saying, how could we get to taste it?
stop by Cooper. We'll be here for the next 3 hours cleaning up. We would love to have you taste it. Trust me. It's a lot of fun doing the shows, but you know, our satisfaction as chefs is always seeing people's reactions to the food when they taste it. So which is kind of hard to do on Zoom vision. All right. So it looks like our nachos are, let's set them up here.
Yep,
So they can see.
sure thing.
Oh, they look good. You see, it's not covered in cheese where you can't see everything. So you can see the shrimp, you can see the bacon. So we're gonna do just a little more sauce on top, just to make it pretty. You need a little more sauce. And now some of our garnishes, and this is what makes it good too, is the garnishes. You know, the thing that's unique about nachos, and we try to teach this in culinary classes, it's a layer of textures, and that's what makes it good. It's because you got the crunch, you got the cheese, you got the sauce. All right, need a little bit of red bell just to give it some color. A little bit of green bell, or I'm sorry, yellow bell to give it another color. And you couldn't do anything from the island if you didn't have some fresh cilantro. There you go. That looks awesome. So I'm just going to slide that down. Can you see that? Ah. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, Chef Steve's going to finish up our jerk chicken.
As the chefs are doing that, if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, any final wrap-up questions, again, great questions coming today. If you all have any other questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat.
All right. All right. So as you can see, we got some nice grill marks on them from all the brown sugar and all that. They turned out real, real nice. So what we're gonna do is take our chicken.
When's the next cooking Zoom? I want to say the next cooking Zoom is slated for July 19th. And July is actually National Culinary Month. So that is going to be a free for all. So we have no idea of what Chef Tom and Chef Steve will be working on because that is a month that is geared for culinary instructors and students all over the globe. So right now it is slated for July 19th, same time, same place. And then August, I can tell you the theme for that is going to be fair food. Since most of us may not be able to go to the fair, although things are opening up, we know that there are some places where they may not be able to bring the fair this year. So we thought that we would bring the fair to you. So August will be Fair Food Month. And again, July is a secret. We don't know. So you'll just have to make sure you show up and attend to see what they have up their sleeve.
Smells delicious. All right, and then we're gonna top it with a little bit of chopped cilantro. There we have our jerk chicken with our chutney and our roasted vegetable medley.
And this is a nice shareable plate for two that you can fight over at the dinner table. Looks great. Good job. Smells delicious. Yeah, so July, it is the 19th. It will be a surprise, but we're going to work on something that we're going to have a lot of fun with. So
Now, if you have any requests, Feel free to drop that in the chat. Certainly, if we can't make it happen for July, since that's a surprise month. August, we're bringing the fair to you. So we don't know what kind of rides Chef Tom and Chef Steve have up their sleeve. They may even come in costume. Who knows? But if you have any requests, anything that you would like to see, please feel free to drop it in the chat. As you know, they are chef extraordinaires. And there's probably not a dish that you would desire to see that they cannot do. And if they don't know, I'm sure they'll do their research to bring it to you. So if there's anything you want to see, please, by all means, drop it in the chat. And I am sure the chefs will be happy to make some accommodations.
That's absolutely right, Cindy. And also, I just want to throw it out there. Don't forget, if you're interested, the Chef's Apprentice, we did a cookbook that came out in December. I'm sure there's some bookstore people on the call. If you could put the link into the chat, if you're interested in the Chef's Apprentice cookbook, these recipes are not in it. These are going to be in volume 2. But great book. I just, one of my relatives from Pittsburgh bought the book and sent me pictures yesterday on Father's Day of some of the food they made out of the cookbook, and they loved it. So, but it's there. And it's $19.95, and $5 of the sale from each book goes to the Benjamin Lewine Fund for Culinary Arts. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank IT also. If you have any more questions, now's your opportunity.
So we have thank yous in the chat saying thank you for putting this together. And then Chef Tom, certainly if you want to send me the email of the recipes today, if you already have that typed out, that way if anybody wants it, we have it readily available.
Sure.
And then Chef Tom will be sure to upload this video on his YouTube channel. If you have not already, subscribe to follow. If you need to go back and watch the replay of these videos, they are on his YouTube page. And that is certainly Chef Tom. Or are you under as, what are you under YouTube as, Chef Tom? I don't know if it's your full name.
Thomas Long, but it's under a hack YouTube.
Yes.
But yes, there's about 20 videos on there now. So.
And Kyle has just been gracious enough to drop the link in the chat for the cookbook. So again, as you heard, volume two is loading. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you don't want 2 without having 1, right? 1 goes before 2. So if you haven't already done so, please feel free to click on the link and get a book. Not only is it going to be beneficial for you, but also, as you heard, $5 donation also goes to help the furthering of culinary education. So that is it, Chef Tom, Chef Steve. We thank you all again for another phenomenal show. We appreciate your skills, your time, and your talent. We'll see you all back here, same time, same place, July 19th at 11:30. And this is a mystery meal. We have no idea. And if you can't make it with July, we'll see you in August. Look for an email to follow. That is Fair Food, where we are bringing the fair directly to you. Thank you all. We appreciate the support week after week, month after month. We'll see you guys again next month, July 19th. Thank you.
You bet. Have a great day.
Bye.